the controversial scene that took the Beverly Hillbillies off the air. While the Beverly Hillbillies brought laughter and joy to millions, the cast members themselves faced their own personal struggles and triumphs. Buddy Ebsen, who played the wise and good-hearted Jed Clampett, enjoyed a long career in show business before and after the Beverly Hillbillies, including his memorable role in Barnaby Jones. Despite his later success, Ebsen always expressed gratitude for his role as Jed, which made him a household name. Ebsen passed away in 2003 at the age of 95, leaving behind a rich legacy in television history. Irene Ryan, who portrayed the feisty and lovable Granny, became a beloved figure thanks to her role on the show. Known for her comedic timing and fiery personality, Ryan earned 2 Emmy nominations for her performance as Granny. Tragically, Ryan passed away in 1973, shortly after the Beverly Hillbillies ended its run, but her character remains one of the most beloved in television history. Raymond Bailey, who plays Mr. Milburn Drysdales, is the Clampett's banker, confidant, and next-door neighbor. Bailey died of a heart attack on April 15, 1980, aged 75, in Irvine, California. His body was cremated and his ashes were scattered at sea. Nancy Culp, who plays Jane Hathaway, whom the Clampetts address as Miss Jane, is Drysdale's loyal, well-educated, efficient secretary at the Commerce Bank of Beverly Hills. Culp, a cigarette smoker, was diagnosed with cancer in 1990 and received chemotherapy. By 1991 the cancer had spread, and she died on February 3, 1991, aged 69, in Palm Desert, California. Donna Douglas, who played the beautiful and kind-hearted Ellie Mae, found fame as one of the show's breakout stars. Although she struggled to break free from the typecasting that came with playing Ellie Mae, Douglas remained proud of her work on the Beverly Hillbillies and often attended fan conventions and events to celebrate the show's legacy. She passed away in 2015 at the age of 82, but her portrayal of Ellie Mae continues to be fondly remembered by fans. Max Baer Jr., who portrayed the dim-witted but lovable Jethro, was the last surviving member of the original cast as of 2024. After the show, Baer struggled with typecasting, but he found success behind the camera as a producer and director. He remains proud of his role on the Beverly Hillbillies and has worked to preserve the show's legacy, even exploring legal battles to protect the characters from unauthorized commercial use. One of the most beloved TV sitcoms of the 1960s, The Beverly Hillbillies captured the hearts of millions with its charming story of the Clampett family's accidental fortune and their hilarious misadventures in affluent Beverly Hills. However, behind the light-hearted humor and family-friendly image, there was one episode, or more specifically, one controversial scene, that played a significant role in the eventual cancellation of the show. Although there were multiple factors that contributed to the end of the series, the moment in question sparked debate, concerns from the network, and drew sharp criticism from viewers and cultural commentators, ultimately marking a turning point in the show's long and successful run. Before diving into the details of the controversial scene, it's important to understand the context in which the Beverly Hillbillies thrived. Premiering in 1962, the show quickly became a ratings juggernaut. Created by Paul Henning, the series followed the Clampett family, who struck oil on their land and moved from rural Arkansas to the upscale, opulent community of Beverly Hills, California. Jed Clampett, the wise but humble patriarch, along with his daughter Ellie Mae, his mother-in-law Granny, and his nephew Jethro, created a unique dynamic as they interacted with their out-of-place new world. The contrast between the backwoods culture of the Clampetts and the posh, sometimes superficial lifestyles of their wealthy neighbors provided endless opportunities for comedy. For several years, the series was a staple in American households, regularly topping Nielsen ratings and becoming a cultural touchstone. Its slapstick humor, fish-out-of-water premise, and lovable characters ensured that the Clampetts would be remembered for decades. Yet, as the show entered the late 1960s, television was evolving. Society was changing, and with it came new expectations for TV content. This shifting landscape, coupled with the infamous scene that rattled both the network and viewers, would eventually lead to the downfall of the Beverly Hillbillies. As the show entered its later seasons, the writers attempted to keep the plotlines fresh, often pushing the boundaries of comedy and satire. One episode in particular, aired in the early 1970s, featured a scene that many viewers found distasteful, even shocking. The scene in question depicted Granny Clampett attempting to perform a hillbilly exorcism on a character who was believed to be possessed by spirits. While the Beverly Hillbillies had always leaned into its folksy charm and hillbilly stereotypes for comedic effect, this episode took the theme further into the realm of the supernatural, mixing humor with religious undertones in a way that some viewers felt crossed the line. The portrayal of Granny's exorcism ritual, which included elements of superstition and folk magic, was meant to be humorous, but it didn't sit well with certain segments of the audience. Many religious groups expressed outrage, claiming that the episode trivialized and mocked sacred practices. At a time when American culture was still deeply rooted in traditional Christian values, even a lighthearted spoof of spiritual rituals was considered blasphemous by some. The network, CBS, began receiving letters from concerned viewers and religious organizations, who demanded that the show be more mindful of its content. What was intended as a comedic farce about rural superstition had quickly become a flashpoint for broader discussions about what was appropriate for television, especially in an era where TV was becoming more experimental in its themes. The backlash to the controversial scene was not only rooted in religious concerns. As the 1970s began, the country was experiencing significant social and political changes. The civil rights movement, the Vietnam War, and the rise of countercultural movements had all contributed to a more socially conscious and politically aware populace. With these changes came a greater sensitivity to cultural portrayals in the media. The Beverly Hillbillies, which had built its comedy on the exaggerated stereotypes of hillbillies and rural Americans, was increasingly seen as out of step with the times. The depiction of Granny's exorcism, though intended as a harmless joke, was criticized as an insensitive portrayal of rural Americans, reinforcing negative stereotypes about the ignorance and backwardness of people from the country. What had been funny in the early 1960s no longer seemed as innocent in the more progressive atmosphere of the 1970s. Social critics began to question whether shows like the Beverly Hillbillies were perpetuating harmful caricatures of certain groups, rather than offering good-natured humor. This cultural shift meant that television was no longer just a source of entertainment but also a reflection of societal values. Audiences were beginning to expect more from their TV shows, particularly when it came to respecting diversity and avoiding content that could be seen as offensive. The Beverly Hillbillies, with its dated humor and reliance on stereotypes, was starting to feel out of place. Facing both external pressure from viewers and religious groups, as well as internal discussions about the show's future, CBS was forced to re-evaluate the direction of the Beverly Hillbillies. The controversial scene added to the growing sentiment within the network that the show had run its course. At the time, CBS was undergoing a significant transition known as the Rural Purge, in which the network canceled several of its popular rural-themed shows in favor of more urban, socially relevant programming. Shows like Green Acres and Petticoat Junction, which shared a similar tone and audience to the Beverly Hillbillies, were also cut during this period. Although the exorcism scene alone was not the sole reason for the show's cancellation, it certainly played a role in accelerating the decision. The scene highlighted the growing disconnect between the show's content and the evolving tastes of the television audience. The Beverly Hillbillies was officially canceled in 1971, after 9 successful seasons and 274 episodes. The decision marked the end of an era for CBS and for American television more broadly, as the network moved away from its rural comedies in favor of more contemporary, socially aware programming like All in the Family and The Mary Tyler Moore Show. Even though the controversial scene contributed to the show's cancellation, it didn't tarnish the long-lasting legacy of the Beverly Hillbillies. The series remains a beloved classic, and its characters, particularly Granny, are remembered fondly by generations of fans. In hindsight, the controversy surrounding the exorcism episode can be seen as a reflection of the cultural tensions of the time, when television was transitioning from simple, escapist entertainment to a medium that was expected to engage with deeper social issues. Today, The Beverly Hillbillies is celebrated as one of the most successful sitcoms in television history. Its humor, while at times outdated, continues to entertain viewers in syndication, and the show's place in pop culture is firmly cemented. The Clampetts' rags to riches story, combined with their heartwarming family dynamics, ensured that the Beverly Hillbillies would remain a significant part of American television history, even as the controversy that contributed to its end has faded into the background. The controversial scene that helped bring about the end of the Beverly Hillbillies highlights the complex interplay between entertainment, culture, and societal values. What was once viewed as lighthearted comedy became a point of contention in a rapidly changing world, proving that even the most popular shows are not immune to the shifting tides of public opinion.